Cellist Gautier Capuçon, it's a long time wish of the cello section of the Helsinki Philharmonic to have you here as the soloist. And now you're here playing no less than the Dvořák concerto, which is a very, of course, frequently played and a famous piece. How do you make such a popular standard piece your own? That is, everybody knows it and many people have recorded it, as have you.
Well, we should make every piece our own, actually, because we are interprets, so we're there to read and tell the story of someone else, obviously not me, but then to convince people to tell this story with the most passionate way and being true and being sincere, then you have to make it your own. When it's your own, then you can spread it. And making a piece your own doesn't mean that you understand everything. That's not what I'm saying. But you have to, make it your own and feel really with the music together to be able to tell this story.
What is your common history with this concerto? Do you remember something from the first encounter with it, or when you first heard it or first played it?
Oh, I have many stories with this piece. Of course, the Dvořák cello concerto for us is very important from the youngest age. It is one of the most beautiful pieces also from Dvořák. It is not only a concerto, it is a real symphony. It's a huge piece, and it's in that regard, it's a very very difficult piece because you have to get really the overview and the line from the beginning to the end. A story which I think is very important with this piece is, of course, the fact that Dvořák was in America. That we know, but a story that sometimes we don't know is his personal story and relationship with his sister-in-law. And that's very important to understand also the piece and especially the end. So he was secretly in love with his sister-in-law, and at the time he's in America, he's writing this concerto which is almost over, and he receives a telegram saying that she's dying, and of course he doesn't have time to go back and say goodbye to her. And they had this secret love song that they shared together, which is a lead by Dvořák, which is called Lasst mich allein, Leave Me Alone. And it's a very beautiful melody. And actually all this melody is used in the cello concerto, and especially at the end. All this you have this last big climax, and then suddenly all the last page is very long. It's going down and then it's going up again, and it's actually his way to say goodbye to her. And of course he doesn't want to let it go, so this melody is going over and coming back, and you have it on the solo violin and then on the cello, and then all this it is sadness, and it is also a way to, that's my interpretation, but a way to accompany her to whatever you believe.
Yes,
but it's a beauty, because this end is absolutely, it's breathtaking. It's very emotional. It's emotional, but at the same time you have to find the right distance with it. So you cannot get too much involved, but still it is so emotional. It is there, and it's beautiful the way he writes it, and in a way he accepts to let it go, and it's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, it's a very exceptional ending for a concerto, and
it is.
I didn't know that story, and it sort of explains it.
Yeah.
Very well.
When we know the story, then we start to understand the music.
Yeah. You, of course, as a soloist, play both concertos and recitals. And next Sunday, if you remember yourself, you will be in London with your duo partner, Jérôme Ducrot, playing an interesting program in Wigmore Hall. It starts with the Grieg sonata and ends with Debussy sonata. And in between there are short, wonderful short romantic pieces. It's not a usual way to build a program. What inspired you to put up such a piece, a concert program?
What I wanted to do is, you know, in the 19th century and beginning of the 20th century, when you find some archives of old, you know, posters and maybe of David Popper or Pablo Casals or Emmanuel Feuermann, you could see those concerts. It was incredible. It was not a concerto and then symphony. It was a kind of recital with orchestra, with piano, sometimes even both in the same concert. And they would play maybe, I don't know, the first movement of Dvorak concerto, then the last movement of Haydn, and then maybe a movement of a sonata. And it's actually quite incredible, like a little bit like a gala concert of an opera singer who would sing, you know, famous melodies and like a big musical party. And that actually was the idea to of course we're not playing everything which is on the recording, but some of them. And now I come back to the Wigmore Hall concert linked to some French pieces linked to Debussy, and Grieg sonata is also a sonata that we play with Jérôme since 20 years, so it is also our story in a way. And I did the first concert now last week with the orchestra, Orchestre de Chambre de Paris, and Adrien Perruchon, and we did this program with the Haydn C major cello concerto in the first half. And the second half was all the small pieces. And it's actually fantastic to see the reaction of the audience, because it is really very joyful. It is nice also to be able to present the pieces in between and talk to the audience. And yes, it is something unusual. It's the first time I do that. And I was very curious to see actually how it would work in concert, because you never know before you do something. You have some instinct, but and it was actually a great connection with the audience and with all those small pieces. So I really, it's a program that I really love.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea, and it's a service to the audience, because some of the pieces in that program was ones that audience wants to hear, but they are always played only as encore.
Absolutely.
So
yeah.
why not try?
Exactly, and there is a real story in it. It's not only just to play small pieces. It's really connected to my personal life and souvenirs. So it's a nice project.